Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, the women's tennis betting podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. A quick reminder before we get started, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favourite podcast provider. And tell us what you think in the comments. And follow us on social media as well, of course. The handle is @BecauseWeWin. I'm Rory, Jiwani, and with me as ever is Nigel, Seeley. We've got some profit to celebrate. Been a while, but we're back in the winner's enclosure. Well, almost. Olga Danilovic made the final in Rouen. Unfortunately, she lost out in two close sets to Elina Svitolina. She had plenty of chances in the second set tiebreak, but not to be, unfortunately. But it's a much-needed profit, and your long shot in Rouen, Gabi Rusa, made the semis. She went out to Elina Svitolina. But yeah, she gave us a run for our money, but wasn't quite to be, Nigel. Apart from that, how are you?
I'm good. Happy Easter. So everyone who's watching is happy Easter holidays. One person I didn't send a Easter card or an Easter egg to was Elina Svitolina this week. I thought I'm going to leave her alone. I mean, she was by far the best player of the tournament. I thought, she was the best player. We made a case to oppose her. Noshka was our main pick. We couldn't understand why she was favourite. She went out early. We put the value in that quarter where the two seeds went out, and we just ran into Svitolina, who played very, very well. And then she was playing on French turf. Obviously, Monfils, a legend in France, and she played really, really well. Just run into the best player of the tournament. I think if she had gone out early, I think we would be celebrating probably a final between both of our picks. So picked up the each way money. Wasn't to be on the winner market, but we've been a bit unlucky. We've been at semi-finalists and finalists. We haven't got one sort of home yet on a winner market. But that's the nature when you bet these big price things on the outright markets, and that's why Bet Rivers offer us a little bit of value on the each way. We've got to have a lot of luck to go us all our way to get the win, and hopefully the luck will come in the business end of the season. We're not even a third of the way through yet, so we've got much more tennis to come, and clawing a little bit of the negativity back, and hopefully be in profit very quick time.
Hopefully, yes. That was Rouen. Obviously, the big headlines were made in Stuttgart. When we looked at the two tournaments, we didn't have prices for Stuttgart. Probably a good thing for us with Jelena Ostapenko taking the title earlier today. She made it 6 wins out of 6 over Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals, but this time she managed to back it up. She beat Aryna Sabalenka, the world number one, 6-4, 6-1 to win in Stuttgart. I watched that final earlier, Nigel. When Ostapenko's playing like that, she's almost impossible to stop. And Sabalenka wasn't brilliant, but Ostapenko really was fantastic.
Amazing. When she hits the ball, when she does, the pace and the power, she's incredible. I do worry about her physically sometimes, especially over a Grand Slam. I mean, when she come onto the scene and won the French Open, she was a breath of fresh air, and she powered her way through. I think the other players have now got the power. The other problem with her is that she's a little bit mentally weak, in my opinion. I think that she's a lot mentally weak, in my opinion. I think she's exceptional when she's full of confidence and flying, but when she has doubts about herself, she crumbles a little bit. And I think the fact that she ran into Iga Swiatek and she beat Iga Swiatek again for the 6th time, which is the most crazy head-to-head record in probably in the whole of tennis, not just women's tennis, in men's tennis as well. I think she then got a little bit of confidence, and she played with that confidence to beat Sabalenka. Sabalenka, I didn't think played well all week, actually. I thought she didn't really have much to play. She got lucky with the buy through, but I still don't think that I think she's got to the stage now where she's all about majors with Sabalenka. I think she's all about majors. I know she's got a brilliant record again in the finals, but she does get turned over now and again. And but it was a great week for Ostapenko. I'm glad we didn't, because I wouldn't have picked her. I could say after the event I would have picked her, but I don't think I would have done.
No. And talking of majors, you mentioned that for Sabalenka, we've got the French Open coming up in just a few weeks, and we can look at the odds there, because there has been a bit of movement. Iga Swiatek, who had been minus money for a long time for this tournament, and I saw we were even money a few days ago. Now Swiatek plus 130 to win the French Open. Aryna Sabalenka plus 250, Mira Andreeva $7, Coco Gauff $13, Jelena Ostapenko, of course, winner back in 2017. She's $18. Madison Keys, $27. It's $30 bar those. I mean, anyone taking your fancy at the prices there, Nigel?
I mean, a lot of people put up bets now and say, oh, we should bet Ostapenko, and they tweet things when they're into the semi-finals. Well, listen, when they're in the semi-final market and you get Ostapenko at 40 to 1 in the French Open, the market's good in $5. You know, if you want $30 or $40 or $50, you're going to be referred. You're not going to get these kind of bets on. These are solid markets here. I mean, realistically, it all depends to me on the weather conditions. I think if the weather conditions are quick and it's sunny in Paris, which it has been in a couple of years, we can make a case for certain players. But if it's slow and it's wet and it's dull, then I think Iga Swiatek may potentially become a price where I think that if she gets bigger and the market is negative against her, I think that she might become a price where you have to bet her. At those lines now, if I was given a free bet with Bet Rivers, depending on the size of the free bet, if it was a $500 free bet, I'd have it on Iga Swiatek. If it was a $10 free bet, I'll have it on Jasmine and Paolini each way at 30 to 1. I can't have Sabalenka at plus 250 in the French Open. Not for me. However well she's doing, I think some of the wins she's had have been in quick conditions, and she's going to be a force this week. She's always a force this week. Stuttgart was quite quick, so I can't have her at Roland Garros. Mira Andreeva at 7 to 1. We were talking about her 2 weeks ago at 12 to 1. At 7 to 1, is she a bet? You know, has your opinion of her changed after what she did last week? I think we get carried away, and I think that tennis betting and futures tennis betting is one of those sports that we suddenly get carried away of what we've seen the week before. We don't look ahead to really like how the tournament ahead will play. I mean, every player that wins the week, Holger Rune, for example, would just beat Carlos Alcaraz and he would be halved in price to win the French Open, but he couldn't win a match 3 weeks ago. Is he a bet? You got to remember, men's is slightly different. It's best of 5 sets, but I think that we overreact sometimes on what we see, and I think going into this, if Iga Swiatek gets to a price of maybe plus 160, plus 170, which if she continues her bad run, she could do, and Arina Sabalenka contracts in price to $2 or 180, then I think the price of Iga Swiatek becomes a very, very bettable price, because if she wins this tournament or she wins Italian Open or Italian Masters, when she's back to minus 120. And if Ostapenko gets beaten the first round of these two matches, she's out to 33 to 1. So I think I think we get really, really carried away with what we've seen. And I think betting is really much about, sometimes we overreact to what we've seen and don't actually look ahead to what we think may be happening. It's very much like people look at momentum and things change, but don't actually look about what's going on in the corner. And I'm going to give you some stats about Ostapenko, which will make that 18 to 1 look a very, very poor bet.
Yeah, recency bias is really prevalent. And I mean, if you were to offer me, if Bet Rivers were to offer me a free bet, I'd probably go for Bukova, who hasn't played in weeks, but we know, she reached the final 2 years ago. I wouldn't put you off Paolini at $30 because, she played quite well in Stuttgart, made the semi-finals, and showing, I mean, she's just split with her coach. I don't know if that's a help or a hindrance at this time, but, she's not playing badly. So, and she reached the final last year, of course. But that's the French Open, which is a bit down the line. Our attentions now turn close to home for me. It's in Madrid. We've got the Madrid Open, the European clay court season getting into full swing. And the main draw starts tomorrow. Got qualifiers going on right now. Iga Swiatek, of course, the defending champion, beating Sabalenka in an epic final 12 months ago. Sabalenka's won it twice before, in 2021 and 2023. In 2022, it was Ons Jabeur who was victorious, beating Jessica Pegula in the final. The American, not a player particularly known for her clay exploits, but Madrid, big servers tend to do well and the big hitters tend to do well because it's 657 metres above sea level. Madrid, it's one of the highest altitude capital cities in Europe. And in 2023, it was also blisteringly hot. I remember because I went to a few days and it was scorching, and that made it even quicker. Last year, the service hold percentage was 63, which is just a little bit higher than the norm for clay. The year before, as I mentioned, very hot, it was 67.3. Doesn't look like it's going to be too warm over the next week or so. We're going to be getting up to mid-20s Celsius, so that's high 70s Fahrenheit. Nigel, yes, it's clay, but it's got altitude. I mean, it's going to be similar to Stuttgart. I mean, in terms of a winner, we're probably looking at the usual suspects, aren't we?
Well, I mean, I think we've spoken on this show throughout the year, and end of last year, there was like a 4 developing, which we thought at the time was Goff, Rybakina, Swiatek and Sabalenka. And now looks like on the betting, there's a 6 developing with a potential of an 8. I think the market is very, very tight at the top of the table, at the top of the betting, because there is some uncertainty around the 2 tournament favourites at this moment in time. Obviously, Sabalenka's a fade usually on a clay court, despite her being exceptionally good record here and the conditions that you said there. And Iga Swiatek hasn't made a final for over a year now, which is unheard of.
French Open last year was her last final.
I mean, that is just incredible when you think about it, how dominant she has been, in particular on this surface. But I think this now potentially could offer us some value on the top market, because we were going into matches where Sabalenka would be and Iga Swiatek would be plus 125, plus 150, plus 150, plus $2, and now they're going in at plus 350, which is a 22% chance of them winning this tournament. And when you look at their record in this tournament, it's absolutely phenomenal. As you said there, Swiatek's the defending champion, beat Sabalenka. Sabalenka won it the year before, beat Swiatek. Sabalenka also won it in 2021. She beat Ash Barty. And in 2022, Swiatek didn't play. So they've dominated it in recent years. And when you look at the record in this tournament, Iga Swiatek is 13-2 in this event. And Sabalenka is 19-4. And 2 of those losses are when she really was starting in her career, when she was an underdog in round 1 to lose this tournament. So they dominate it. They absolutely dominate it, and you're getting plus 350. And the question I have here is, like, realistically, when you look further down that list, who can challenge them? And I understand we're going to go through the bracket in a minute, and we're going to look at areas where there could be some sort of guidance and some people that could be a problem to them. But I'm looking at this draw, and I think it's, I'm looking at it and I think to myself, well, where do we go with the value? So let's break down this bracket, and let's start off on the top half. And obviously, everyone gets a buy through. All the seeded players get the 32 seeded players get buy through to the first round, and then the unseeded players have the right to play them. And in Q1 we have Sabalenka. She's played a lot of tennis. She's played an awful lot of tennis, every sort of surface. She's got to the final at least, I think, in every single tournament she's played in this year. I think every tournament she's participated in, I don't think she's not got to a final. Let me double check that. I think that I read that somewhere. Is that correct? I'm sure that's
I think
right.
she lost to Alexandrova early-ish in one. But apart from that, there was one, wasn't there? The one straight after.
Yeah, no, she lost to in Doha and Dubai. She lost to Alexandra. She lost to Townsend. I forgot about that.
Oh yes,
but she got to she won Brisbane, final of the Australian Open, final of Indian Wells where she got beat by Andreeva, final of Miami which she won, and final of Stuttgart where she got beat. So she played a lot of tennis, awful lot of tennis. And now you got to remember that tournament didn't finish until this afternoon, a couple of hours before. And it's not a long way to go, Stuttgart to Madrid, but to play a final and then the next day she's got no rest period, and I know she's got to play as a qualifier, but I think that she's going to be finding it pretty tough. The conditions are favourable to her. The draw is particular favour to her. I suppose she's got one of her best friends, Badosa, is in it, Spanish hopes, but she tends to beat Badosa every time they play. And I can't really not see Sabalenka getting to the semi-finals in Q1. I really can't. Anisimova may offer us some difficult answers, difficult puzzles to solve, but I really can't see how. Zheng is not playing the best. I just think that, she's obviously won on clay at the Olympics, but I think that Sabalenka will get through to that semi-final. The second quarter is where I see potentially some value, and if Bet Rivers offers some quarter betting, I think this is where we might need to look at. We've got Jess Pegula in there. Has obviously done well in this tournament before, and I think that I think she, again, played a lot of tennis, travelled a lot. I just can't see Jabeur, can't have her. Rybakina on the comeback trail, not convinced by her at all. I think it's all about getting herself ready for Wimbledon. Svitolina just won the tournament at Rouen and then come in here. Difficult sort of quarter of the draw of Rybakina. And you've got Paolini. I think it might be a little bit too quick for her this week. But I like Alexandrova in that quarter there. Obviously, she's a former semi-finalist here. Got to the semi-finals last week in Stuttgart as well. A player that is on the up. A player that hits the ball hard. A player that I believe that could go well here. She looked excellent against Pegula. Big Pegula 6-love, 6-4. She beat Mira Andreeva 6-3, 6-2. I don't necessarily think she's got the game to win it, but I think in quarter betting, she's a bet. I suppose we should actually look at the outright betting really before we go into the draw a little bit more. I've probably got a little bit carried away there, but let's have a look at the outright betting as well, Rory.
Yeah, let's have a look at the outright odds and the big two. I think we can call them the big two from now on because the big four has kind of faded away. But Sabalenka and Swiatek plus 350 joint favourites. Mira Andreeva $8, Jelena Rybakina $12, Coco Gauff 14s, Jess Pegula $16, Madison Keys $18, Jelena Ostapenko $20. I mean, it would just be typical Ostapenko having won Stuttgart to have a very early exit here, although she is on track to meet Swiatek in the last 16. And we know about her 6-0 record against the Pole. Qinwen Zheng also $20. Amanda Anisimova, she's been struggling with injury of late. She's $33. Karolina Mukova and Paula Badosa, you could say the same about both of those. Haven't played in a little while, and Badosa's had a few back issues. They're $33. Belinda Bencic, Jasmine Paolini, $40. And it's $50 bar those. Yeah, break it down the bracket. So you went through Q1, mentioned Badosa being a potential danger, although, as you say, every time she plays Sabalenka, she loses. Amanda Anisimova, who we've mentioned there, on the comeback trail from injury as well. She's in Q1. Yulia Putintseva and Marta Kostyuk, also potential dangers in Q1, but very hard to see Sabalenka being beaten by anyone really in that quarter. I mean, she's seeded to meet Qinwen Zheng in the quarterfinals. Yeah, it's hard to see Sabalenka getting beaten, isn't it? Really, in that Q1.
Well, I think the only person who could beat her is herself. I think that she could just drop a little bit of, she could get a little bit tired. But every time she does get beat, she usually gets beat in the final, really. I mean, the losses she's had, I think she had 2 losses outside the final and 3 losses in the final this year. So she does usually progress through to the finals. And if anybody, the conditions will suit anybody, they are going to suit a former champion here, a 2-time champion here as well. So, and her record here is phenomenal. So the fact that she's won this week, got to the final this week, isn't ideal preparation, but I just can't see her not getting to the semi-finals. As I said before, Alexandrova in that Q2, I think is a danger, and she's not even in the outright. Well, she's just on the outright bet there at I think she's 66-1 to win here. She is in Madrid. She's the same price that she is to win the French Open, which I think is wrong because I think she's got much more chance to win this tournament when the favourite's plus 350, and then she has when she's got a favourite at plus 130. So I think Alexandrova is a contender. And I think if I was looking for an each way bet in the top half of the draw, Alexandrova would be where I was going. I think I prefer her to win a quarter when Bet Rivers put the line up a little bit later on. So Alexandrova is where I would be looking in the top half of the draw. In the bottom half of the draw, in Q3, you have Mira Andreeva. Now, I just don't know what to make of her. I just don't know whether... I really don't know. I think she's a work in progress. I think the market may have got a little bit carried away with her. I think she did exceptionally well in the Sunshine Double and winning Indian Wells, and then she went to Miami. She won in Dubai as well. So in the desert, she seems to be amazing. I think the conditions will suit her here as well. But I think at single figure prices coming here on the back of a very, very heavy defeat against Alexandrova and something different form, I think it's a little bit of a risk to take. So I think Androva's a little bit too short of the price. Gauff, I'm not convinced by Gauff's at the moment at all. I think she's another player to me that is nowhere near the form. You talk about players like Swiatek playing poorly. I mean, Goff has got beat in the quarterfinals by Paolini here, 6-4, 6-3. Magdalene in Miami, 6-4, 6-4. Bencic, Kessler. I mean, she hasn't got past a quarterfinal this year in any of her matches. The quarterfinals is the most she's got, and she's a fifth favourite here. So, Goff for me, not for me, and I think it'd be too quick for her. In that Q3, my old favourite, Clara Towson. I mean, she's 125 to 1, Rory. I mean, 125 to 1, that is an absolutely huge price for a player. I don't think it's going to be her favourite tournament of the year, but she's up to a career high of 21 in the world. She's playing the best tennis this year than she's ever played. She's a player that is getting better and better each week. And in what appears to me a favourable draw, she'll play Bencic in round 1, if Bencic get through against the qualifier. Hazard Meyer should beat her. Goff, don't see any problems with her. And Andreeva and Samsonova, I'm not convinced by that. Andreeva 8 to 1 or Towson 125 to 1. I think that's a massive price for Towson. So again, on quarter betting, I think that will be that would be a bet that I like in Clara Towson. And I wouldn't put anyone having a little bit of pizza money each way on those two players there. And then we go into Q4. And this is where I think it's interesting because the market is massively against Iga Swiatek. Hugely against Iga Swiatek. And the reason why it's against her is her performances in recent weeks and the fact that she hasn't got to a final. Now, we're looking at Coco Gauff and putting her down as a player that, okay, she's going through bad form. The best she's done is the quarterfinal. The worst Swiatek has done is a quarterfinal. She hasn't got to a final, but in every tournament she's played this year, she's got into she's got to a quarterfinal or a semi-final. And on 4 occasions, she's run into the eventual winner of the tournament. So is she playing that bad that last year she was even money to win this tournament or plus 110, that now she's suddenly become a 350 chance? And the reason why we have her at plus 350 is because if she gets through, in the first round, in the second round, sorry, she's through to the first round, she'll run into Elia, the girl that embarrassed her in her last match, in her match against Miami. Now, Elia since then has done nothing. I mean, she played in the ITF qualifier the other day and she was absolutely awful. And the hype around her will be insane. And I got a feeling Swiatek will absolutely smash her. I think she could beat her really, really easy, cover the spread and probably double the spread. I think that could be embarrassing. That girl's had a one-off day and she played a FA Cup final and I think she'll get mad. And the other one here I like, I mean, the reason why because she's got Ostapenko. Now, I don't believe Ostapenko will get to the stage to play Swiatek because I looked at Ostapenko every time she's won a tournament. The week after, she's gone out early. She's got huge problems with her fitness. She has huge problems with her conditioning. When she's on it, she's on it. When she's not on it, she looks overweight. She looks puffy. She looks blowy. I don't think she can continue what she did last week into this week. And I think she's a very, very easy early elimination. Now, if Swiatek wipes away Elia, which I think she will do, and Ostapenko goes out early, then all of a sudden she becomes a plus 150 shot instantly. The only reason she's plus 350 is because those two players are in her draw. And I think there's value on Iga Swiatek here at plus 350. You know, I don't particularly like going for favourites, but I also don't believe that Iga Swiatek is playing as bad as you would suggest. If he was any other player in the world, to look at her consistency of semi-final, quarter-final, semi-final, quarter-final, you'd be going, she's going to win a tournament soon. But because it's Iga Swiatek, we're looking at going, there's a crisis. She hasn't got to a final. She's not winning tournaments. She's not doing well. But I think the market has gone ridiculously overboard here at plus 350. And the reason why is because in her quarter of her draw is the name Ostapenko. But I think Ostapenko is an early casualty here. And I don't think she has anything to worry about it. If Ostapenko does meet her, then we can have a hedging position and you can trade out. But I don't believe Ostapenko will reach the last 16 to face Iga Swiatek because her record after she's won a tournament isn't very good. And that's the reason why my main bet this week is Iga Swiatek Surprisingly, probably because of her form, but I believe that I don't think she's playing as bad as what she's got. And the other thing, I don't know if you noticed, when she got beat last week by Ostapenko, she was the first person in Madrid, and she's been practicing there all over the weekend where other people have just come in. And yeah, I saw a Polish newspaper article about her, and they had an interview of her, and she was speaking all the right things, and she wants to win this tournament. And I'm not quite sure whether Sabalenka wants to win this tournament. I'm not quite, obviously she wants to go deep in it, but I don't think it's high enough. But for Iga Swiatek is desperate to win this thing. And I think plus 350 is a price that we will look back in next week and think, that was ridiculous that Iga Swiatek started plus 350 to win this.
Interesting. So win only. Win only.
I'm going straight. I'm going win only. I mean, I like Alexandrova. I like Towson, obviously, but I think they're better bets to win their quarter. I think they're going to be gallant runners for us, like we've had throughout the season. People that give us a good run for their money bow out in the semi-finals and quarter-finals. But I think Iga Swiatek will win this because I think that the fade in Ostapenko is much more better strategies to fade Ostapenko rather than fade Iga Swiatek.
Yeah, I can see the logic. I'm not convinced all is well with Swiatek. I know she's, as you say, she is consistent and she's going deep in all these tournaments, but not getting to the final. And she's the defending champion, and she made the final the year before.
It's the price, though, Rory. It's the price, isn't it?
It is the price.
I mean, you're talking about a player. If I said to you this time last year, we can bet Iga Swiatek to win this tournament at plus 350, what would you say to me?
Yeah, have the lot on.
Well, that's what I think it is. I think it's just got to the price where she's just the wrong price. I just believe she's the wrong price. And sometimes we look too hard for angles to find an angle where it's staring us in the face. And I think that plus 350 is just the wrong price.
Well, I think that actually works quite well for us because my method of attack here is going for some outsiders. I thought the second quarter was very open, really open. You mentioned there's Jabeur.
Sorry, can I just mention one thing here? I mean, going with outsiders hasn't been a very good strategy in this tournament. And then, the last 3 of the last 4 years, it's been the number 1 and number 2 seed. Favourites have done exceptionally well. There has been favourites in match bets. If you've gone for individual match bets, there's been a very good tournament for underdogs in terms of the men's and the women's draw. But in terms of tournament winner, we haven't had an unseeded winner since 2017. Or haven't had an unseeded finalist, since 2017. It's always been someone who's been ranked in 1, 2, 5, 4, 3, 7, 10, the top 10. It has been a tournament that the favourites have done exceptionally well in.
You have. I remember 2017, that was Halep won a second.
She beat Burton's in the final. She was the last
I think it was Mladenovic.
I think Burton's was the last. I think it might have been 2019.
Burton's won it, I think.
She won it, but she got to the final. I think she played Kvitova in 2018.
Yeah.
And she was the last unseeded player to get to the final.
Yeah. I watched her the year before lose in the first round. Burton's in 2017. So Q2, Alexandrova was my pick as an each way bet. I thought $66 was just too big. Given, she reached the semis 2022. She gave Swiatek a real scare in 2023. Lost out 6-3 in the third. And I think she could be playing the best tennis of her career at the moment. She seems to have been rejuvenated. New coach, Igor Andreev, who wasn't a bad player himself. Not the easiest opener because she could face Olga Danilovic first up, who obviously we backed to do good things in Rouen, and she reached the final. The top seed in her quarter is Pegula, who she demolished in Stuttgart. And that took her tally to 5 wins over top 10 opponents this year already. She beat Mira Andreeva the previous round, and then she lost to Ostapenko in the semis. Obviously, no disgrace in that. So I think Alexandrova at $66 is a massive price. Looking at the third quarter, which I think is perhaps the weakest because your seeds are Pegula and Jasmine Paolini. That's not beg your pardon, that's the second quarter. Mira Andreeva and Coco Gauff is the third quarter, which I don't think is particularly strong. And Andreeva, she had a great run 2 years ago when she was, she had her 16th birthday during the tournament. And I think she reached the quarterfinals where she ran into Sabalenka. But she's still a bit of a work in progress on clay, and I'm inclined to oppose her. I think Madison Keys has a chance of going well in the bottom quarter. Obviously, the altitude will help her serve. But again, hard to see really past Swiatek in that fourth quarter unless she runs into Ostapenko again. But some of the other potential outsiders in Q3, you mentioned Towson, Mukova, her first tournament back, in a while. I mean, I'm keen on her for the French, but I'd like to see her first before committing on that. Ludmila Samsonova, she could go well with her serve. In Q4, you've got Navarro, Schneider, Kalinskaya. I mean, if Kalinskaya was playing well, I'd quite like her in Madrid, I think. I think she's got the right sort of game for Madrid, but she's not been in good form. My other pick is in Q3 at a ridiculously big price. And I think she's 200, she might be 250 to 1, $250. That's Maya Sherif, the Egyptian, who has been pretty awful at the start of the season. But last week they had an ITF 100K tournament in Madrid. And she won it. Olga Danilovic won it a couple of years back, if memory serves. And Sherif, she only plays well on clay. But she turned up to this tournament in Madrid last week. She won it without dropping a set. She beat Renata Zarazua, the Mexican, in the final. Zarazua might be one to watch in early on. Now she's recovered from a knee injury. But Sherif reached the quarterfinals in 2023 in Madrid. And she won the opening set against Aryna Sabalenka before going out. I saw her beat Marta Kostyuk last year before she went down in 2 quick sets to Jelena Rybakina. In her quarter, Mira Andreeva would be probably her round 3 opponent. That might be tricky. Karolina Mukova perhaps in the last 16. Gauff in the quarterfinals, probably. I mean, I don't think there's anyone particularly scary in that quarterfinal. I mean, you could argue there's no one that scary in women's tennis at the moment, apart from Sabalenka. I mean, even Swiatek's looking mortal at present. But I think Sherif could go far here. And I mean, I'm not confident anyway. $250, you're not going to be confident about that as a bet. But I just think she's overpriced. And I'd say the same for Alexandrova, who I saw last year. I actually watched her when Sean was over, Sean Calvert, and we watched some of her match. And she lost to Aisling Kruger, who's obviously done good things this year. And Alexandrova just looked really out of sorts, just looked like she wanted to be somewhere else. Obviously, she's hit form this year. She's got a decent record. So Alexandrova, half a point each way for me at $66. And Maya Sherif, a quarter of a point each way at $250. Again, if we do get quarter betting, I'd be interested in both for those. But as you say, with the great record of the top 2 seeds last few years, it is hard to look past the big 2. But I'm going to have just a couple of darts, and hopefully, at those prices, you just want to run for your money, really.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I like Alexandrova. I think she was very close to being an official pick for me, but I just got a feeling that you look at the winners of the tournaments at the moment, there's a lot of short price favourites doing quite well. Sabalenka's winning a lot of tours, or giving you a run to the final where you've got a position where you can actually hedge a little bit if you want to go there. I'm a bit fed up of having value semi-finalists and quarterfinalists, so I've gone through. I just believe that Iga Świątek is a woman on a mission this week. The fact that she's gone there early, she's there way before anyone. She was there Friday or Saturday. Sabalenka will turn up on Monday. She's been practicing on the courts 3 days ahead of her. She's got a brilliant record in this tournament, and I just believe that plus 350 is just too big a carrot that Bet Rivers are offering me. That I've got to accept it.
So how much are you going to have on?
Well, how many, you're going to have one? You're going to have half a point each way on both yours.
Half each way on Alexandrova and a quarter of a point each way on Sheriff.
Well, I'm going to go 2 points win on Iga Świątek. Win only at plus 350.
There you go. So those are our picks for Madrid. And of course, you can watch all the action, bet in play with Bet Rivers. And of course, we've got Betting Weekly Tennis Live. I'm on next couple of days, I think. So we'll be looking at some of the in-play action there. We've got Betting Weekly Live all week, looking ahead to football season, soccer season coming to a close, drawing to a close in Europe. Some very exciting finishes there. Had the Champions League last week. So, a lot to look forward to, Nigel. And of course, we've got Game Bet Match ATP with you and Sean.
Yeah, they'll be back tomorrow. Obviously, the draws with this day starts a day later, doesn't it? The men's action starts on Wednesday, women's starts on Tuesday. So we're recording tomorrow 3 times this week. You going to the tournament this week? We're not.
I'm not. I've just got too much else on for a change. The weather if I was going to go, it would have been tomorrow, but the weather forecast isn't brilliant tomorrow. So, I'm going to have to give
fair weather, Jiwani.
Yeah,
fair weather, Jiwani.
No. So what's happened is I've just bought a flat, and I need to do some work to it. And so I need to get there and do stuff, and I need to do that. And I've got other work on. So for the first year in quite a few, I'm not going. I might see how things look next week. I might try and get over next week, perhaps. But then it gets really pricey because
you'll be able to keep us updated on the weather conditions. Though
I will. I certainly will. Well, it's funny because I was in England last week. Got back on Saturday night. Chucked it down Saturday night, and we've had so much rain in Madrid for the last few weeks, and the weather forecast isn't brilliant for the next week and a half. I mean, it's not as warm, certainly not as warm as it was a couple of years ago. It's not going to be cold, but it's not going to be that warm. There is going to be a bit of rain about, not enough to disrupt the tournament significantly. But yeah, I'll be tomorrow and Wednesday, obviously on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. I can give you look out the window and give you a weather update. And looking forward to obviously the women's main draw starting tomorrow. The men's on Wednesday. It's a great tournament. It's a really enjoyable tournament. And I'm very a bit annoyed that I won't be able to get to it this year, but next year definitely I'll be back.
Well, as Arnold Schwarzenegger said, Rory will be back next year.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on Betting Weekly WTA. I was needing to call it Tennis Live for a second. I don't know where I am at the moment. But yeah, Betting Weekly WTA. That was us for this week. We won't be back next week because obviously Madrid will be going. But obviously we'll have Betting Weekly Tennis Live to keep you up to date with all the action in Madrid. Thanks again, Nigel. And
No problem, mate.
Looking forward to more shows, especially with the conclusion of the soccer season. Really looking forward to that. But thanks for joining us again. Make sure you tell us what you think, who you think's going to be Madrid. Leave your comments in YouTube under the line, and join us again in about a week and a half, or just under 2 weeks, for more Betting Weekly WTA.